I almost just ended it on accident right when I started it. Okay. Let's see. We're gonna start. All right, we're good. First ads rolling. So, how do you want to approach this? Is there anybody that you want to talk about? Is there anybody you want to talk like? I mean, it's Talladega. Like you and I are both attacking this the same way. How do you want to start this exactly? Because I'm playing guys from the back.
Yeah, I think it all depends. That was the pre-stream question. Lineup construction. I think it all depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Because like when we talked about, you and I talked about earlier this week, if you're just trying to cash, then obviously playing all shit boxes in the back, or not all shit boxes, but shit boxes in the back, and pure place differential is what you want to do. Whereas if you're trying to actually take down a tournament, I think you need to go a different build, kind of like what we've seen in the other super speedway races this year. So I think the way that you approach a lineups is just depending on what you actually want to do, because I don't think going with Haley, Castle, Allgaier, and the shit boxes is going to get optimal. I don't think you're going to take down the tournament with that, but it's definitely, you have a very high chance of cashing, which or if you're in high dollar, like that's a great lineup to roll, because you don't need to have optimal. You just need to score a shit ton of points, and that's the way. So I think that's where you and I differ a little bit on lineup construction today. Is I still have lineups because I want to try to take down, a tournament, whereas I also have just pure place differential too, just to cash. And as long as crazy shit happens and I get a little lucky, I should at least break even today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm certainly more on the making more money by just the volume of lineups and not necessarily aiming for the optimal lineup. I do want to bring up a situation that I saw yesterday in the Truck Series race. So Parker Kligerman was like 60% owned or higher in the $8. Mm-hmm. And what's weird to me is that everybody agreed that we should play Kligerman there, and he's 60% owned, to where I don't understand why we don't see that type of ownership to people like Castle, to people like Haley, to people like Allgaier today. Like they'll probably come in lower than that, maybe high 30s at max. But I don't know if it's because that contest is smaller and the people playing that like are more aware that you need to stack from the back. But I thought Kligerman was an awesome play yesterday. A lot of people were kind of complaining that, he wrecked. He only scored 12 points. I mean, that was an awesome DFS day, especially how crazy that race went. I end up being around 40% on Parker Kligerman, and that's pretty much where I'm landing on people like Castle, Haley, even Allgaier as well. I'm right around that 40%, 45% range, and I'm not really concerned about being underweight or overweight on those drivers compared to the field. I'm using enough different drivers to in different lineups to either pivot off of them or have a lower owned guy in the lineup. And so I'm not really concerned with the ownership of the guys in the back this week. I'm more so trying to land on the guys that I legit think are going to be under-owned. People like Anthony Alfredo, we talked about on Stacking Denny's. Same thing with Colt Custer, Priest, Jones, even Chastain. Like that seems to be where I'm landing more outside of my pure stack from the back plays.
Mm-hmm. I think a big part about it is like why we see such high ownerships in the lower series is just because a lot of DFS players gravitate toward names. Like I know when I'm playing Xfinity and Truck, because I don't really pay attention to Xfinity and Truck, most of the time when I build a lineup, if I don't use someone else's content, I'm going with names that I recognize. So I think that's a big part of why lineup construction for Cup, we're not going to see those huge ownerships, because Justin Haley's probably going to be the highest owned today, but Justin Allgaier, people think he's in a shitbox car, so that's going to take away his ownership. Landon Castle, same thing. Whereas those two cars are above the shit boxes; they're very good plays, especially Castle, starting dead last. So, yeah, I think that's why we don't see the super high ownerships when we probably should. I'm surprised you're only at 40% on those guys, though. I figured you'd be, 75.
So, my run through, I'll end up having 20 lines today for Cup. I'm yet to make 3 because I do want to see kind of what you say, or if I can pinpoint where other ownership is, those last 3 lineups will be more towards, quote unquote, aiming for the optimal. But initially, when I was about 12 lineups in, I had about 40 to 50% ownership for positions 40th through 28th. And so I'm pretty much even across the board between the last 12 starters. That's where I'm at. That's why, like yesterday, like with Kligerman, like I was comfortable playing 40% of him. Same thing here. Like I think I'm fine playing, half of my ownership or 40% of my ownership to Castle because his floor is 12 points, 12, 13 points. Even if he finishes dead last, he's not going to kill my line. And so regardless, whatever his ownership is, like Castle is not going to be the reason a line doesn't cash today.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm not playing him is to, build different lineups. But like, I think Castle should be like 60, 70% owned. Like he's the safest play. He's the play. Like everybody's like, oh, if you're playing cash, you need to play Castle. Like you should play Castle anywhere. Like realistically on DraftKings, we're building a 5 driver lineup because you just lock in Castle.
Mm-hmm. Are the lines that you're not using Castle? I'm assuming you're just like pivoting to like, Cody Ware or something. Or Shitbox also back there. Yeah. So you're just kind of playing the, if something happens to Castle, you have a backup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
go ahead. Sorry. I was like, say my issue. Sorry. My issue is that I'm finding myself playing too much Castle, Haley, and Allgaier in lines. Like those 3, yep. I'm saying this to myself and also to everybody else. Like, I love those 3. I want to limit my ownership to having all 3 of those in a line. Like, if you're running an optimizer, I would probably cap it at 2 of those 3 drivers. It's okay to have the lineup with all 3 of them in there, but that's a situation where I want to be underweight on the field. Like, I do not want to have those 3 drivers in a lineup.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people are going to go both Haley and Castle. So I think there's opportunity to go Haley Allgaier or Castle Allgaier to kind of differentiate yourself, or just go one of them, because yes, they can all get up there, but there's also a pretty good chance that they're not going to. So yeah, like that's where the strategy comes into play of where you actually want to be, because yeah, they're chalk. Yeah, they're great plays, but playing them, like the chances of all of them, I would rather, like combine like Castle and Alfredo in some lines than Castle Haley in every single line,
Yeah, I think that's the first part of being different. I'm pretty sure, like you're already aware that I like, the shitbox cars probably more than other people here. So I already have enough ownership to them to pretty much be like 8 times the field on those guys. But
it's crazy that those guys are, that they only get, I think the highest we've seen this year is Timmy Hill at 8%.
Mm-hmm.
And that it doesn't make sense, especially in this race where it could get really crazy, because like you pointed out earlier this week, nobody really gives a shit. It's the last time they're racing these cars. All they're worried about is winning. There's definitely the potential to tear up a bunch of cars. And just like we saw in the Xfinity Series yesterday, the shit boxes stay back on purpose to avoid those wrecks. Unless you're Jennifer Jo Cobb, then you go fucking cruise missile in. Like, Jesus Christ.
That was hilarious, man. Stupid, but hilarious. Like, it's wild.
I'm pretty sure I was the first one to point that out on Twitter. Like, I was like, who the fuck just went through full speed 20 seconds after the wreck was over? Mm-hmm. And then someone replied to me, it was Cobb. And I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, of course it was, like it would. And that's not the first time she's done that either. Like, she's done that numerous times through her career at plate races, to where she just yeets it into a wreck and takes out other people.
And every single time, you see the people defending her, like, oh, maybe her brakes went out. Maybe she couldn't hear her spotter. Like, no, I think she's just a fucking idiot. This is you don't like. I timed it. It was literally she had like 15 seconds from when everybody else was pretty much to a stop, and she just I think she gassed it. She definitely didn't brake.
I think she slowed down and then for whatever reason saw a hole that was obviously closing up and tried to beat it. Like it's those people that try and beat a train on a railroad track. Like
it's Mario Kart 64 with the train coming, but it's way too close.
And I felt so bad for Kligerman because he was clear of the wreck. He's like 20 feet off the apron, like he's in the grass. Like there's no reason he should be hit by anyone. And of course it's Cobb that hits him.
Yeah,
that was funny, man. And then somebody else did it in Xfinity. I didn't notice who it was, but it was the same thing when they wrecked in 3 and 4. Somebody just threw it in there and collected more guys.
That's speaking of Xfinity, so like I played one line in both truck and Xfinity yesterday. And I played Graf in Xfinity in the $300 contest, and he was only like 14% owned, starting dead last. And I was like, and it's not like he was in a bad car. Like I did very elementary research. I literally just like looked up his results this year, and I was like, oh, he typically finishes, 30s. That means it's not a shit car. Okay, I'm throwing him in there, starting dead last. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I remember when you told me that, I was like, what? He was that low owned. Like it's crazy. Like these ownerships make no sense. Like the people talking up Hamlin this week of a GPP play, like Hamlin is a play. Okay, play him. I encourage you, play him. So that line's just dead on arrival. Like people are projecting Hamlin for like 20% again. People are projecting Larson to carry ownership too. Like what is going on here? There's no reason to play these guys.
And I talked about that in my video this week for DFS, and I actually my projections have Hamlin as the highest driver today, but I think that's to be expected because it's Denny Hamlin. I'm projecting him to lead quite a few laps. I'm projecting him to finish top 5, but it doesn't justify the ownership, like you said, and it doesn't make sense. And like Kyle Larson, I think people just like, they hear I can get Kyle Larson at whatever Larson's price is this week. I don't like what, 7,900 or something.
He's 84.
84, yeah. Yeah, I think he's going to be like 15, 20% owned, which is absolutely insane because, he's starting top 5. He's never, ever had a top 5 finish at a super speedway race. Eventually it's going to happen, but like you said, like even with Hamlin, everything has to go perfect for him to get to score well today, and the chance, like it's just not. I don't see it happening.
He has to have like a race of life today at a plate race. Like has to kill the field, be first the entire time, and still win the race to even have a chance, like a slim chance. Like the probability of Hamlin being optimal is probably less than 2%.
I put it in that range. Like the single digit, like maximum 5% probably.
Yeah, like
but yeah, like I was looking around at projections from other people in the industry today, and like I have Hamlin projected at 23% ownership today, and I think I'm one of the lowest on that, which is again absolutely insane. But it goes back to there's our edge, guys. Like I don't know what these people that people pay money to get picks and to get projections from, and they're rolling with Hamlin today. Like, do these guys that provide this just want to have a screenshot mid race where they're winning a shit ton of money and like I don't know, compare it to the end? Like it's like fucking points as they run, like it's pointless.
You hate those points as they run, man.
I hate them so much. They showed him in Xfinity 5 times in the last like 20 laps, like with each change. And I'm like, when you have like And then they would show him like as Herbst was leading, and then he'd fall back, and then he'd be below the cut line. I'm like, just drives me nuts.
And then like it's so weird. Like when we need to look at everything in context, because when you look at like Denny Hamlin, and I think this is why he's so owned. When you look at his optimals at Daytona, he's been optimal 5 times. When he's optimal at Talladega, he's been optimal once. But when you look at like why he's optimal, these are situations like in 2016, he started 11th, finished first at one of these tracks. I don't remember. I'm just looking at his stats. You know, Daytona 2020, started 21st, finished first. Daytona 2019 spring, you know, or summer, started 10th, finished first. Like these are all races to where sure Hamlin was optimal, but he was also starting, you know, in 10th or in the teens. Like he had that place there. He didn't get there because he just won the race. Like
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all for playing Hamlin at super speedways if he's chalk, if he's starting 20th or worse. But when he's going to be chalk starting, especially on the fucking pole, like it's I'm not touching anybody in the top 5 today. One thing to consider though, you know, speaking of how this race is going to play out and starting positions, you know, with all the playoff drivers starting in the front, it's going to be interesting to see how many drop back and play it safe for most of this race. But whenever this damn thing gets started, I don't know if we're going to race today. I don't know if we're going to race tomorrow. Not like till Thursday. If it does get started today and they're racing till halfway, what do you think the chances are that these guys do like we saw in the Daytona 500 this year, where they just go out there and ride around to get this damn thing in and then go to the end and then wreck, you know? And does that decrease the chances or does that change your mindset at all with the shit boxes who are during all these green flag runs are just going to be getting lapped?
Yeah, it certainly hurts. But it depends on what way you look at it. I would look at it, if we get it started today, I think we're ending the race today. I don't think we go the full distance. I think we end probably before stage 2 because we just have to make it to halfway. And if that's the case, as I'm not playing any of the playoff drivers, I frankly don't care about that this week or in general. But some of those guys like are in a tough position, and the only chance that they might have of getting stage points is stage 1 in this race. And so there is a chance that everybody understands we're racing to halfway. Like we might not even have a stage 2, and they end up wrecking a lot. Even like if there's rain like 2 minutes away, we're going to see like really, really dumb stuff, especially if we know like the race is official and it's going to end because of rain. I think that's an instance to where we might only be at like lap 90 today, or 94 is halfway. So we might be at like lap 103, you know, rain is on the way and they end up wrecking. And then the shit boxes, because of the end of stage 1 and where that is, they might not even be a lap down. They might be off the pace, but at max, they might be 1 lap down. I don't think we're going to run into a situation to where they're 2 or 3 in that case. And so I like the back markers in both situations. And I really do think we end up wrecking for the lead at some point in this race, like towards the end. Like they're going to wreck probably entering 3, you know, battling for second or first again.
Yeah. Yeah. See, like the whole rain thing, like it makes me not even want to play today or like just throw in one lineup because it just adds stupid shit to an already stupid situation.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't help. I was going to tweet yesterday, but I didn't because I always end up tweeting it. Like, I don't understand why Indianapolis. I don't understand why Talladega. I don't understand why these tracks in 2021 don't have lights. Like,
it's too expensive, Brandon. That's
not
what
1970. I get. Like, what are we doing?
That's what I get every time I bring that up. It's too expensive, way too expensive. And then I pull up the financials for the Speedway Corp, making hundreds of $1 million. Doesn't cost that much to put lights on these damn tracks. I did see a good argument for Talladega, though. It's that the infrastructure can't support it in the surrounding area because if they put lights at the track, they also have to light the roads, which Like,
Well,
is this in the fucking boonies that there's no lights on the roads?
I would agree to that, but they already have lights on the grandstands, like for the
Oh,
people to be able to see. Obviously they don't have it around the track, but if you look at the grandstands, like they have lights for the seats in case it gets dark, so everybody can walk down. Like they already have lights at the track. They just don't have it around the track, and I mean maybe that is an instance, but you know they say they can't afford it, and then I look at my tickets for the racetracks I go, and I'm like, dude, I'm paying like 250, $300 a ticket. Like,
yeah.
what's going on here?
Yeah, and as big as Talladega is, throw some damn solar panels in the middle of that thing and power it through that.
Yeah, like what are we doing here? It makes no sense, man.
Yeah, I'm fully on that train of every single track should have lights, and I don't want to hear about the it costs too much money bullshit, because there's plenty of money there.
Yeah, like especially like with how it's most likely not going to be a sellout, and it's probably not even going to have that much of attendance today because of the rain. But like if it's at night, you can sell most of those seats. You don't even need to sell them at like a high dollar markup. Like if you just pack this, if you pack the stands, you can make your money back on concessions and stuff. Like you, the corporation doesn't necessarily need to sell every $300 ticket to make money.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, they're when I went to Michigan, I think beers were like $12, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they ran out of half of them. Like I was like, how the fuck? Like, I just want to have a Miller Lite. Well, we don't have any. Okay, what do you have? Like some freaking IPA bullshit. I was like, I will literally go drink piss instead.
What do you got? Oh, we got a Tecate. We got Tecate Light. You want that? That's all we have. Nobody's bought it. Yeah. But
who's your highest starting guy that you have in a lineup today?
I'm glad you asked that. I was going to bring that up. Let's I'm pretty sure it's Eric Almirola. Last time I checked. Chase Briscoe at the moment. He's starting 17th. Right now I got Briscoe, Wallace, Almirola. Actually, I have Briscoe's the only guy in the 20s, and I have everybody else 19th on back.
Mm-hmm.
So Briscoe's the highest I've gone. And it goes back to I really don't want to play these playoff drivers at all. And I know they're the top 14 or top 12, but I really want to stay away from all of them.
Yeah. I'm really liking Bubba Wallace today. My projected ceiling have him 4th highest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's going to be that'd be one guy that I would be heavy on, that is starting top 20. Obviously, Eric Almirola has a really good record here. I'm not sure what his ownership is going to be. I have him at 19% projected. So I think there's some good plays though in that 18 to 24 range. So what do you think about Austin Dillon? I know you said Briscoe. I think Austin Dillon starts one spot higher than him.
Yeah, I actually lied. I have DeBenedetto in a line, so that's 15th. Okay. I'm not a big fan of Dillon today. Like when we get up here, like obviously past the stack from your back, when we're looking at actual upside of who can, actually get there, I'm concerned Dillon finishes around 12th today. And at that point, I would just rather go to other plays in those areas. I'd actually rather play DeBenedetto over Dillon because I think DeBenedetto is winner wreck because the poor guy, not even poor, I don't really care, but he doesn't have a ride. Like he's literally jobless because he doesn't do anything. What's the odds we see DeBenedetto cry today?
Oh my God! If he finishes second or third, absolutely. If he wins, absolutely.
Oh, that's terrible, but it's true. Like, so Wallace is going to be up there today. DeBenedetto is going to be up there. Stenhouse is going to be up there, like trying to lead the whole thing. And so those are the types of guys I want to play here because they're either going to finish top 3 or wreck, or might do both at the end of this race. But that's the type of guy I want to play when I'm actually playing guys in the teens, is guys that I think can actually win this race, not necessarily just ride and finish, 12th or something, which isn't bad, but I want to hit the winner if I'm doing that.
Who's your highest owned ship box though? Curious on that.
I think we're pretty even across the board. It's looking like it's right now. I'm even with Half, Gaze, and Smithley. I think.
Hey, did you see David Starr withdrew?
Yeah, man, I
got replaced.
Yeah, dude, he still messed up the field yesterday. The only time he got lapped, it was when he was in front of Haley, and Haley went to pass him as the leaders are catching him, and the whole pack had to go to the bottom of the track. And David Starr yet again broke up the field. Like, even going back, I know he cost you quite a bit at Bristol, but looking back, I was like, dude, Starr has fucked me a ton as well. Yet again, Gregson at Homestead earlier this year. I completely forgot about that. I know he blew a tire, but it's always Starr. It
is. He's always in the way.
Yeah. And so I was happy to see that.
He's Ryan Newman in a car that goes 20 miles an hour slower than Ryan Newman's car.
He really is. He really is, man.
It's speaking of shit boxes though, I just have this weird feeling about BJ McLeod today. I don't know why. I think it's because it's a Ford. I think Ford still has a big advantage here at Talladega. So I'm building when I can, trying to hit the Fords, Eric Almirola, Cole Custer, my boy Pasta. I like the Fords here. They've won 11 of the last 13 here.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Michigan.
Yeah. I don't really like using that stat. I like looking at who's leading the races more. It's the Fords. They have an aerodynamic advantage. The fact that they've just ended up winning has come down to more luck than anything, especially when you look at the end of these races. McDowell won it in a Ford. Okay, well, everybody wrecked in front of him. Blaney won. I think it's last time they were here.
Fords are 3 for 3 this year on Super Speedway. No, it was Kez last time, and then Blaney won Daytona. So Ford.
Yeah.
Are they leading though? I haven't even looked up that stat. I feel like Hamlin has the most laps led on Super Speedways this year.
It's probably Hamlin. I can take a gander real quick.
I put the damn thing in my article. Hamlin at 148, Logano at 73, Chase at 42, Christopher Bell at 42. Going back to Daytona 500, and even the first or the other two Super Speedway races, I think the Gibbs Toyotas race really well together. They just seem to just going by the eye test. I can't put any numbers to it to back it up, but that makes me like Bubba Wallace even more because basically another Gibbs car there.
Yeah,
and starting further back.
Yeah, Fords as a whole seem to work better. I think the best organization are the Toyotas, because for whatever reason, if Hamlin isn't leading the lead, he's pushing Bubba Wallace. If you go back and look at the races, he's basically doing all he can for Bubba to be in position to win these races. Now, if he's there at the end, that's on Bubba, but the Toyotas are there, and it's why Kyle Busch has such bad finishes, why Truex has such bad finishes. They're up there, they just get caught up in the wrecks because that's where the wrecks happen. I think it was the 500 video I did earlier this year or something, but I look back at not who wrecked, but where the wrecks happened, and it's always for second place, third place, or fourth place. That's where these wrecks are nowadays. It's not in the pack or in the field. They're literally wrecking for the lead throughout this entire race.
Yeah, just like yesterday when Jeb Burton wrecked what's his name? which
Gregson, yeah.
Yeah, and then he tried to blame it on I really don't like college racing cars and drivers. I really don't.
I was so happy to see AJ get taken out because then I knew for sure the colleague cars weren't going to be dominant.
Yes.
So that was good to see. But yeah,
going back to Kyle Busch though, he actually 3 super speedway races this year. He has the best average running position at 7.6, which at super speedways that's very, very good. And of his total lap completed, he's been in the top 15 for 94% of them. And just to put that into perspective of how good that is, next best that's ran all 3 races is Logano at 82. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna bet Kyle Busch to win the thing. I'm not picking him in DFS though.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good. I wish I could bet here because that'd be fun. Because and it all goes back to this is a situation to where real life talent is vastly different than fantasy talent or upside. I think Kyle, I think Hamlin I think the Toyotas have the best chance to win the race, probably as a unit. And if it's not them, it's going to be a Ford of somehow. But yeah, if I was putting money on somebody to win the race, it would probably be one of the Joe Gibbs cars or Bubba, because they're going to be there. The only thing that's weird is in the last Daytona race, and I'm saying this jokingly because I know I'm going to get shit, but it's almost like these cars are too safe and too slow, because when I watched the Daytona race again, a lot of these guys were getting hit in bad angles. They were getting spun pretty much sideways in the pack, and they were able to save the cars. And so that worries me in a sense of looking for wrecks, is because if these cars are pretty savable now with the amount of air they have on the side of their cars when they get spun or when they get pitched sideways, they don't necessarily spin out into the field anymore. A lot of these drivers can save it, and Talladega is so big is that even if we get somebody to hook somebody oddly entering one of these corners, they might not even spin the car out, and it might spread the field out some more to where they get back to single file. So that I am legit worried about that. But I can't predict that or anything.
Right. Well, I think we saw that in Xfinity yesterday as well. I think it was the wreck that Jeb Burton caused. Whoever he turned down into Gregson, was that Moffitt?
I think he spun.
Yeah, he spun Moffitt down.
Or it's something like.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember off the top of my
head. Whoever he turned basically went into the car on the bottom lane and then straightened back out and kept going. And yeah, I think that's the exact same thing as what you're getting at with these Cup cars is, it definitely lessens the chances of a huge pileup, but at the same time, if Hamlin spins Chase Elliott in front of the field again, they're all gonna pile up.
It's like when you look at last year's finish, which I think is the greatest finish in NASCAR history, just of all the crazy stuff happened. There's 6 dudes sideways in 3 and 4 at the end of that race. They were on the apron and nobody spun out. That's my main concern.
You're talking about the Talladega playoff race last year?
Yeah, when Hamlin won it.
I'm looking it up real quick. I was on vacation. I didn't even watch it at all. Now that I think about it.
Here, I can bring it up on the screen. I'll mute it so I don't get copyrighted to hell. I can show everybody else here, because also the 26 you guys watching, thank you, because you could be watching the NFL live show right now, and I appreciate you being here. But here, let me bring this up for everybody to see.
Is this the race where DiBenedetto was once again in position and
I think he black flagged him because he went into the yellow. Here, let me mute this. I'll bring it up on the screen here for everybody to see. All right, share screen. Oh, it might be at 3 frames a second on the stream. I'm going to put it at 2x just so we can all kind of see it quickly here. But And this might even be more extreme this year with the lack of or with the high amount of downforce and the decrease of speed. But like this finish is crazy, and I get a feeling that we might have a situation where it ends very similar to this again. And the only way that we get something like that is people basically breaking off and, oh, what are we doing here? There we go. Yeah, so like this finish is nuts. So Cody Ware wrecks, they keep it green, and then everybody else just fucking no lifts, and like everybody sideways, they're wrecking behind.
Oh wow. Yeah, that was a good finish.
Yeah, like I think we see something very similar to that, to where it's, a quote unquote wreck fest at the end, but nobody actually wrecks. That I'm really worried about that.
Yeah, especially like if there's no big wreck until then, like if there's a wreck on the last lap, anybody that's lap's not moving up, even if people wreck, and that's a concern as well.
Yeah, put Jennifer Jo Cobb in the field, which it's funny in hindsight because it makes NASCAR look good that they didn't let her race. At the same time, I wish she would race just so she can create chaos. Yeah, NASCAR can always put back and be like, "That's why we didn't let her race the Cup Series. She's legit gonna kill someone."
Well, then why'd you let her race the trucks? Like, why do you let her race that? Like,
or Desat, like. The 28 truck team has been in so many questionable situations over the last year, and like anybody can truly race in NASCAR. Like it's crazy that they gatekeep the Cup Series unless you're a rich kid, then you can race. But they just let whatever bums they want to race in the Truck Series.
Yeah, like when you say anybody can race, like Cody Ware has a ride.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was gonna say, so basically, this is my inferencing. So MBM is running the same car that they ran, that Garrett Smithley ran in the 500, that Timmy Hill ran in the Daytona race earlier this year, and James running in it. Like, James is not hopping in this car with the MBM motor in it. Like, there's absolutely no reason for him to be put in that car to just race a car that slow. So it's still prepared by MBM, but I'm assuming there's a Rick Ware engine in that 66 car today. And if that's the case, there's basically 5 Rick Ware cars in this race. Like, my dream is coming true. Rick Ware is taking over the Cup Series. Like,
my favorite part about Rick Ware Racing is how they have like 2 Fords and 2 Chevys and sometimes a Toyota.
Yeah, they run everything. They just run whatever pieces they can mooch off of the other teams.
Like, yeah, I don't know. So you think that's a Rick Ware? You think it's still a Toyota though?
No, it's a Ford. It's the same Ford that Timmy Hill ran at
is it?
Daytona. Yeah, it even has the same paint. All they did was take off the stickers of the last sponsor, but it's the exact same car or not Timmy Hill. The Star ran it at Daytona. And if you remember, he was pretty off pace, but he kept up. He still met minimum speed, and he wasn't wrecked at all. And so, like, that 66 was the only car I was worried about, like, either having issues. And we've seen Rick Ware cars have issues at plate races before, but I am not concerned about any car in this race not making pace or not making it to the end of the race outside of wrecking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my only concern is just like how often we see those shit boxes lose the draft.
Mm-hmm.
That's my only concern.
Yeah.
But all it takes is an early big wreck, and that point is completely moot. It's trying to predict whether that's going to happen or not, which obviously we can't. We don't know how aggressive these guys are going to be, but or how long this race is actually going to be. I think I'd feel even better running shit boxes if we're getting to a window where chances are the full race is going to play out.
Interesting, because I actually like him more in a situation where the race is cut short. Because then everybody's feeling more desperate.
That makes sense. Yeah, I could be looking at that wrong. It's so these races are so.
Oh yeah. Which I know we've had rain in the forecast for plate races before, but I can't remember a situation even at Daytona, even when they ran it Monday evening, at 500 that ended at like 2 a.m. I can't remember a situation to where they knew that like Monday is washed, Tuesday is washed, Wednesday is washed. Like it is today or Thursday, in my opinion, for this race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because even going back to the Texas delay last year, that wasn't forecasted as being that awful. I mean, even the day of, like the fog just set in after they let Harvick run on a wet racetrack and ruin that car. Oh, that race.
Yeah, dude, there's so many questionable calls, man. We talked about it after the podcast last week, but we were like, man, why are we putting money on this with all these questionable calls the
Right?
last 2 years?
This is just dumb. Like it goes back to like honestly, I wouldn't be mad if I don't play DFS today again for the second week in a row. I'm going to because I really like building lineups for Talladega. It's fun to actually build them and then have something to root for when the wrecks and hope that your guys get through it. But yeah, with all the awful calls and just the randomness of this, like why do we put our money on this shit?
Yeah, I brought Darren's question up because he's the first real. And Mark, I've been watching you too, but like this is the first real question we've had in 45 minutes outside of Clutch's start, and so we're probably going to answer differently here because in this is the first time I think I'm entering 20 lineups for the Cup Series. I almost always do it for Trucks and Xfinity, but usually I played less lines for Cup. And in my instances, last year's race was it? Yeah, because Blaney won it. I think last year's race was the only time I've cashed playing all shit boxes in single entries with like one line across the board. So I think it'd be better to probably play more guys in the 20s. But then again, I've only ever played shit boxes, especially in weeks where I've only made one line.
The wrench in all of this is Haley, Allgaier, and Castle.
I think you play those three if you're making one line.
Agreed. Yeah, at least two of them. I don't know why. I think it's because I just don't like the guy, but I just can't get on Allgaier today. Like I said, I'd rather go to Alfredo, but hell, you could go, Haley, Castle, Allgaier, Alfredo. There's nothing wrong with that either. But yeah, that concerns me. I think, if you're doing one line, you go those three. If you want to be different, then you throw two shit boxes on there instead and hope that Castle wrecks out again, hope that Haley wrecks out again. But that Collin car is strong. Like that's not a bad race car at all. And Justin Haley's really good at super speedways. He's also going to be the highest owned though. So that throws that, into the equation. But yeah, if you're doing one line, I get going with shit boxes, but I think the main thing is with Haley back there, with Castle back there, with Allgaier and even Alfredo. I'd much rather have those cars even in a wreck fest race. I think they have much higher upside than hoping that they wreck and having that advantage.
Yeah, so there's two things I want to say. There's interesting that you said that you don't want to play Allgaier. I think that's the feel on the industry right now because a lot of people are projecting Allgaier for like 20% ownership. So Allgaier is actually probably the guy I'm probably going to end up being overweight on of those good cars in the back.
That's my initial gut. So I've made 2 lineups so far.
Mhm.
One of them has Allgaier on it. The other one doesn't. And when I actually sit down and think about this intelligently, yes, I agree with you. Like, if you're going to pivot off of Castle or Haley to only go with 2 of those 3, I think the pivot is to Allgaier because he should be lower owned than both. And like a Spire car isn't bad, and like I said, it just kind of saves you not similar upside. I think the other 2 have higher upside, but similar potential, I guess, to with a shift in ownership of 15%, I'd say. So yeah.
Last thing I wanted to say about Castle and Haley is I think they're going to be racing up in the front the whole day. We saw that at Daytona, to where Castle was running, like 14th, 13th, like at the tail end of the inside lane on the lead pack, and same thing with Kaz Gralla. And the only reason Castle didn't finish better is because he walled himself on the wreck on the back straightaway. He hit the brakes and he put himself in the wall. And then same thing with Kaz Gralla. Gralla actually arc braked into Kyle Busch entering pit lane. And so both those guys should have finished better from what they did at Daytona. At the same time, they were both running up in the front the whole time, to where I don't think Allgaier is going to do that. And so that's my real argument against Castle and Haley, is that I think they're going to be racing up front the entire race.
Plus, I don't think Allgaier is a very good super speedway racer or just racer in general. So, but yeah, that, like I said, that Collin car, I mean, Gralla, I mean, he led 10 laps in the Daytona 500 and would have done decently better if his car didn't start on fire.
Oh, yeah, it did.
I forgot. Yeah, finished 6th at Talladega and then wrecked out of Daytona. So yeah, bring up that comment about Hamlin.
All right, let's see what you're saying, Howard. You would answer this first, or me?
No. I'll answer it. Yeah. The answer is no. I think Hamlin's only worried about getting more playoff points today and getting the win. So I think he's going to lead the most laps today, to be honest with you, and be up there for the win unless he gets wrecked. He's the best super speedway racer in the series, and he has the best car on super speedways. That 11 car is stupid fast on these super speedways with Hamlin behind the wheel. So I would be absolutely shocked if Denny Hamlin rides around in the back, because he never does that at Daytona and Talladega. And the fact that he's advanced to the next round already actually gives him incentive to go out there and go for the win, because he has nothing to lose.
I also want to add, like, chance of ending up like Ryan Newman, like what, like walking away injureless from that wreck. Like Ryan Newman sustained practically, like, obviously he had a brain, but like in the grand scheme, he wasn't injured at all. We saw Gregson yesterday, like literally, like
that Gregson hit was.
This is what I don't. People are going to take this the wrong way. I obviously don't willingly want to see drivers die, but it's both amazing and BS at the same time that Gregson can just walk out of that car after that many hits and they're just like not even be out of breath. Like he just walks out and be like, oh, okay, we're fine. Like it, like we're so advanced in safety. Like I have no fear for any of these drivers, and neither do the drivers as well. Like we've seen time and time again, like these guys are not going to be injured to where we're just going to keep pushing the boundary until it's not even injured. Like somebody just ends up dying. Like,
Yeah. Like obviously the Newman wreck was bad looking. Obviously, like anytime that they cover up the car with emergency personnel, that's when I get concerned, because obvious reasons there.
Yeah.
And then the other time that was concerning with a wreck would have been at Talladega, I believe, when Bubba Wallace almost took Logano's head off. If he was 5 inches lower.
Yeah, and I mean, like we all thought Newman died. Like we thought like he was like dead on the track. Gordon's in the booth crying. Like we all think we just witnessed Newman die,
Yeah,
And
that was I haven't felt that sick to my stomach since probably Earnhardt's wreck.
like
And I even I won like $8,000 in DFS, and I was just sick to my fucking stomach.
Yeah, or like, I mean, Sam Mayer hit identical. Like, he had another Dale hit yesterday.
So didn't Gregson too? I feel like that wreck like looked exactly like that. And yeah, it goes back to freaking safety mechanisms in these cars. Like there's honestly not a lot of reason for people to get up and not be shook at all after that. Like Gregson was talking about freaking going out and partying in the infield. Like, dude, you just went head on into a wall going 150 miles an hour.
Yeah, even more. And then hit again. And like, they were talking about the fuel cell and everything too, which I didn't even really think of. Like, that should have been a fireball as well. Like,
yeah, it's wild. Go to that comment about Bell or Suarez, because I think those are interesting options. Because Bell's the furthest starting back, and he has to win this race. He's furthest starting back of the playoff cars, and like that's where it gets really interesting, because when you're in that in the like 7 to 12 starting range, or even like 7 to 14 this week, like you need them to win the race, likely, at least for them to get in the optimal. Like if they finish fifth, yeah, they're going to put up a good score, but I don't think it gets them in the optimal. But Bell, that he's ran well on super speedways this year. He just hasn't gotten the finishes. And the only reason I think about playing Bell is just because he does start 12th. And he's in a Gibbs Toyota. Like I'm right there on the fringe of like in a single entry contest or something, playing someone like a Logano starting 8th. I don't hate Logano starting 8th, or Byron starting 10th. It gets super risky. Like I wouldn't recommend it, but I'd say I'd be all right going with a few lineups like that, with a Bell, with a Logano, with a Byron, maybe even a Keselowski started 7th, but I really don't like that 7th place starting spot. Suarez, I honestly can't even tell you where Suarez starts.
Suarez starts 18th.
See, that's in that. Yeah, in that range, I'd rather go Almirola or who else starts? Bubba Wallace. But see, now I'm going to start overthinking it. Bubba Wallace is probably going to have about double the ownership of Suarez, so one position further forward. I know you said you have a lineup with Briscoe. So do you have a lineup with Suarez at all?
So I haven't done that. I have Suarez highlighted as the guy I want to make a lineup with. And so if we're talking top 20, I think Bell is either win or wreck, which I like those guys, because then I know that lineup's he's gonna be the winner or he's gonna wreck. Same thing with DiBenedetto. Same thing with Wallace and Suarez, because we've seen Suarez in this 99 car lead laps at plate races and run up front. I like Suarez in that range, because as you said, like I think Wallace is going to get a ton of ownership, which is the main reason why I went to Briscoe in a line. But I like Suarez as well, to where I probably need to get more Suarez today.
Yeah. And what about pull up that Bowman comment? That's another one. It's I feel like his salary might keep people away from him. Like I don't know what they were thinking with Bowman at 10-2, but I think it's going to drive down. Like I haven't projected under 10% ownership. But if I'm rolling in that range, I'm going probably Byron or fucking even Harvick.
Harvick's got a cool looking car today. I know that's not DFS related. Have you seen the Busch car?
Is it the like orange and camo?
I'm pretty sure it is. I just said, oh, the paint scheme's cool. I can't even remember what it is now, but I'm pretty sure it's the camo one. Harvick scares me, man. Like I don't like anybody in the top 10 really. Like if I had to choose between Logano and Brad, I'd probably choose Brad more. I think Brad's a better plate racer. He just gets wrecked by a lot of people, and he's caught up in a lot of wrecks. But I think Hamlin and Brad are the two best plate racers. Brad just hasn't got the finishes in quite some time.
And I also think that history, though, is going to drive up his ownership. So do you want to be with that? It's, yeah. If he started 9th, I'd like it more.
Mm-hmm. Let me look at pricing real quick, because I almost never look at things in terms of pricing. It's weird hearing this week that like people are saying it's hard to make a line, like with salary. That's always weird for me at these tracks, because like, you know, like I read articles or some shows that or I see people in Discord being like, man, you know, I just don't have enough salary to make this line work. And I'm like, what are you doing? Stop playing Hamlin. What are you doing? That's like, why
you could comfortably throw in Haley, Allgaier, and Castle into a lineup and still make a very good lineup without going to shit boxes. Like,
yeah.
Oh man, it's so hard to make a line like that. It should not be hard to make a line at Talladega. You're throwing darts.
No.
You're just you're playing strategy. You're not playing drivers.
And I did this for the video on on Wednesday, but this is like, these are my lines for trucks. Let me bring this back up on the screen. Because I think this helps illustrate where I'm coming from with these races. But like, these are the lines that I ran yesterday for trucks. So this is my ownership when I made 15 lines. I think I ended up with 20. Yeah, I did for this race. And so let's kind of zoom this out some. But I mean, this is how I build lines. This is the distribution of lineups that I run. And I think this one was the one I finished 11th in, because it had Tyler Hill in it.
Mm.
But I mean, as you can see, a lot of the guys that I truly believe in, I should have been higher on Norm. I knew he'd run the race, but I didn't think he'd be that good. But everybody back here, I'm having like 40 to 50% ownership too. And so, like today for the Cup Series, I'll probably have more ownership in the 20s as well. But it's the same thing, to where I'm just covering the back of the field. And if you look at, you know, salaries left over, I'm leaving everything from like 2,000 to 12,600, and same thing with Cup. You know, like, and I kind of bring this up because I saw JJ's question here: is it okay to leave 6K on the table? Leave whatever you want on the table. There is no concern at all. I got multiple lines today leaving over 10,000 on the table.
Yep, this is the week to leave plenty. It's literally just pick anybody.
Yeah.
I do like speaking of pricing, I like how they like from LaJoy to Jones, I like how they did that, where they put 26, 27, 28, 29 all in within $100 of each other, or within, like, in order like that. I'm interested to see how that affects. I think it could affect ownership, just because of, like, a lot of people, as weird as it sounds, they, like, I feel like, so for example, Castle being next to Austin Dillon and Chris Buescher, I feel like a lot of people are going to pivot to Chris Buescher or Austin Dillon, because if they're pivoting off of Castle, just because they're right next to each other on salary, you know, when you're actually building. I think that comes into a play a lot more than people realize. In addition to just the names, like, you know, seeing Truex at 7,600, it's gonna bump up his ownership, because people are gonna be like, oh, I can get Martin Truex Jr. He's good at 7,600. Well, he's not good at super speedways, and he starts 6th. So Same with Larson.
Yeah, and I guess that was my initial thing I wanted to bring up. I got distracted by showing the lineups from yesterday for the answer to that question. But when you look at salaries, even not pivoting off each other, like I think that's why I might need to play Dillon as well. I think Dillon will have less ownership because around him is literally everybody in the 20s, and you have Castle there. Same thing with Suarez. So not even for like a pivot, like you were bringing up, like if you pivot off a Castle, you might be going to Newman or Busch, or like he might get no love as well. Even Tyler Reddick, like actually looking at pricing, it makes me like Tyler Reddick more because there's like no reason to play Tyler Reddick when you're looking at starting positions in terms of comparing him to salary, especially when people make a lot of their lineups on their phone or on their computer. Like Tyler Reddick just looks super unattractive.
Mm-hmm. Don't you love how these races, like, we analyze the dumbest shit because it is so fucking random. Like, it's weird, but it goes back to this is just, it's all about luck. It's all about the strategy that you build a lineup with, and then getting lucky and hoping that your guys don't wreck.
Yeah, that's really all it is, man. Thank you for the 40 people that are here yet again. Like I said, I know you got NFL starting in an hour. We appreciate you guys being here because there's really no reason to be here, really, other than to listen to us talk. So I do appreciate that. Is there anything else you want to add on? Because we've been here for about an hour, kind of shooting the breeze.
I'm trying to think of anybody that we just haven't really talked about. We haven't talked about Chastain right there in 23rd.
Yeah, I have Chastain on the line. I would talk. Okay, we'll end on this. What do you think of LaJoy? I'm afraid
that's my boy.
I think he's going to be really, really popular today.
I would agree. Where do you think he comes in at?
He's a guy that I think will be higher than I think any of us expect. I'm thinking maybe in the 30s.
I have him projected as the 4th highest owned today.
So I was wrong. I thought a lot of his finishes came from the chassis he was running last year and the year before at Go Fast Racing. But I mean, LaJoy has been up there this year in these cars. Like, I think LaJoy is actually good at these tracks.
Oh, yeah.
And when you look at how many optimals he's been in 5 optimals. That just pops off to people left and right.
Yeah, he was, and that's why, like, even at 25% owned, I'd still rather be overweight on him. I think getting in that 40% with LaJoy is solid because, like, just taking over the last, I did a whole article on it. Like, he scored the most DraftKings points on super speedways for like over 2-year span. And yeah, I think he, oh, what the fuck? Dark theme for Google search. That's weird. I mean, I like it, but it's new. Threw me off a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So going back to 2019, LaJoy, it was LaJoy, Newman, Ty Dillon, Kyle Busch, Ryan Preece as the top average scorers in. And the thing with LaJoy is he always just sticks out in the back and avoids the wrecks, and then he has his car's not a shit box, so he has the car to get up there and race when the time's right. So yeah, I do like LaJoy, and I like him even more if he comes in. I know like other people have him projected at lower ownership than I do, so if he comes in at 20%, I'd willingly be 40 double.
So LaJoy last year, as I said, I played pretty much all the bad cars, and he was the worst play I had. and he finished 28th in the fall race here last year, and that's his worst finish, pretty much like the last probably 4 years since 2018. That 20th place finish last year in this race was the worst finish he's had, and that was due to a fuel pump issue, to where he got trap laps down repairing that fuel pump. But he hasn't been in like a legit wreck. I think he was in a wreck at Daytona earlier this year when he finished 22nd. But like
Daytona 500 or the second Daytona race? No, he finished 9th in the 500. Yeah, he was up there top 10 in the second Daytona race. He got in that that late. He was like one of the few cars that wrecked on the final lap.
That's why he finished 17th. Okay.
Yeah. I remember it because I was super heavy on him.
Yeah, because he's not he's good. Like I was wrong. Like I said, I got to eat crow there because I thought LaJoie was not a good play racer. I thought it was the car, but like he is tremendously talented. That's why I think he's going to be in the top 4 ownership as well. I have him in 3 lineups right now, but he's a guy I kind of want to fade. I'd rather actually fade LaJoie more than Castle, Allgaier, or Haley, to be honest.
I'm pulling up his ownership this year. He was 32% owned in Daytona 2. But other than that, he was 16% owned in Talladega 1 and 3% owned. And a lot of it comes back to, like, there's going to be people that just literally look at super speedway results this year, and it's going to bump their ownership up today if they're started like a LaJoie. Like, they see that he finished, I would highly recommend, and I said this in my video, I would highly recommend going back to the first Talladega race, looking who finished well and bumping up their projected ownership by, like, so you got Michael McDowell who finished 3rd. That's going to bump up his ownership because people are just going to go back and look at that race. Lazy people are, and they're going to be like, oh, he was good in that race. And he starts 24th. So it's going to bump up McDowell. It's going to bump up Keselowski, who won. It's going to bump up Byron.
Probably bump up Custer and Alfredo. I didn't even think about that aspect as well. Because plate race, like I'm looking at every finish at a plate race that's 2016 here. And so I kind of always forget that not everybody has, like the last 18 or something, whatever, how many races I have looking here. But when you start looking at like the last 2 years, Newman should be popular as well.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, a lot of it, there's that aspect of it, of, who did well before or in previous races. And then there's the aspect of, so like with Cole Custer, what have you done for me recently? He's been a fucking shitbox recently, which that's why I think it keeps his ownership at, in the teens when it should be significantly higher. He's been at or in or near the optimal, like 2 of the 3 races this year, plus I think last year. There's no reason that, like, I wrote up Custer as a tournament play today because I think his ownership is going to be that low. Same with like Chris Buescher. He tends to come in at low ownership. Newman, I think people have finally gotten on the Newman train. I'm just looking at average ownerships this year. Newman is 4th highest. It goes, of the people that started all 3 races, it goes Hamlin at almost 34% average, Kaz Grala at 29% average, and then Logano at 24.5%, and then Newman, Kez, Chastain. Now, obviously, one big amount in those races can really skew the average since there's only 3. But when you compare those to starting position in those races, you can kind of, I think you can really predict ownership in this race when you factor in historical ownerships this year, plus kind of adjusting for, like I said, the bias of recent finishes and recent finishes at this particular track and at super speedways in general. Again, it goes back to, like, that's why I like Alfredo so much this week. That's why I like Custer this week. Even Ryan Preece, I don't think he's going to be as high owned as he should be. And and that also goes with Landon Castle, who he was only 28% owned in the second Daytona race, starting dead last, and he wrecked out. So is he going to come in even lower than that today? Which would be insane, but I wish they priced him up there with Haley. That would have definitely kept his ownership lower than it should be.
So Castle, like gun to my head, I think Castle comes in like 29% ownership. Like I really do. Like I think he should be higher. But I think Castle's at like 29.
I got him at 30.4, so I'm right there with you.
Which is just stupid. Like, why is that the case? Like, so like I know we're kind of rambling here, but like if Newman, LaJoie, Haley, and Castle are going to be the chalk plays, but we might see actually more ownership to like LaJoie and Newman. Like it makes me feel confident being like 50% Castle, but at the same time, I'm like, well, shit, should I just be more like on Castle?
I'm sorry, I'm looking at something really quick.
You're good.
What the fuck? Yeah. Let me pull something up real quick.
No, you're good.
Like I really think Castle's going to go super under owned, like especially in the big GPPs. Now, like high dollar and single entry, it might be a little bit better, but it's still. I'm looking around at other projected ownerships for this real quick.
So right now, while you do that, I have 16 lines right now. I have Castle in. I have him in 9 lineups. And I'm like, I should just put him in more, really. It goes back to how I started. Like, I need to stop galaxy braining myself and just say we're building a 5-driver lineup, just block Castle in and build from there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. Like, don't overthink it. It's a halfway decent car starting dead last. If he wrecks out, that's just bad luck. But he's the only driver that is guaranteed positive points today.
I'm putting Castle in my last 4 lineups. That's what I'm doing. So I'll end up with 13 lines with Castle. So that'll be 65% ownership today for me, I think. I'm fine with that.
There's another guy we didn't talk about, Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
I have him in a line. I have him in one line, just because he's gonna. I think he causes a wreck. Like if there's any, he's gonna wreck the field, man. Especially here with nothing to lose. He's gonna wreck someone.
He's gonna get that bump just because of who he is. But when he doesn't wreck, he's like so many top 5s and like solid finishes. I think you need, unless you absolutely think he's going to wreck out, I think you need to be at like 20-30%.
If you isolate Talladega, so how many races is this that I'm looking at here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. So if you look at the last 12 Talladega races, this is a situation where I do not want to use Daytona data because his driving style is more forgiving here at Talladega. He has a third of the races to where he finishes outside the 20s, and 2/3 of the time he's finishing inside the top 16. So I think that actually backs up your, what'd you say, 20%?
I said, yeah, 20 to 30. I mean,
I think
over half of the last 12, he's finished 9th or better.
yeah.
Like, Stenhouse is really good at Talladega. It's just when it's Ricky Bobby. It's checkers or wreckers for him, and that's the risk you take playing him. But the upside is absolutely there. And starting 21st, that's that range where people are like, does he start too far forward? Does he, should I pivot to Chastain or pivot to someone else? And I think people, I that's one guy I'm not sure on ownership, because I can see him coming in at 30% and I can see him coming in at 12. Like, I'm not sure where everyone's going to be on that.
Yeah. So right now, after we've been talking, and I'll probably wrap it up soon so you can go do other stuff today. But I'm telling myself that I got to probably have more ownership to Castle and probably more ownership to Stenhouse. I think that's where I'm at, because I'm already doing Alfredo. I've already got Custer and quite a few, but that's Stenhouse. Looking at Talladega specifically, and I hate using track history, but man, when it's right there, like I get a 66% chance based on his last 12 races that he's going to finish inside the top 15. I'm fine with that.
What do you think about his teammate Priest?
I like Priest a lot too. I have a lot of Priest already.
What about Jones?
I got a lot of Jones too. And when I say a lot here, what is my actual ownership? I was at 17% Jones. I know I've added more since I calculated there. Same thing with Priest. I have Priest in 3 lines right now out of 16. Jones in 3 as well. I'll probably end up having 3 with Stenhouse too, or 4 with Stenhouse. Like I like Priest a lot because he actually makes it through these races on plate tracks, which is really strange for a modified racer to be that consistent at plate races. Yeah, I like Priest. I like Jones. I like Stenhouse.
I'm debating with Priest. Like, the dude's never finished worse than 18th here, ever. Mm-hmm. He's minus 110 for a top 20 today. I'm honestly thinking about just taking my DFS bankroll and betting it on that.
Yeah, I don't hate
being pissed when he wrecks out lap 3.
Yeah, I like it, man. I like that. So,
just because I know, like, I got lucky yesterday in Xfinity and I made some money, but DFS, like, it's just not. And we talked about this on Stack and Denny's. It's just not doing it for me right now.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's
but like I said, Talladega, it's just so fun to make lineups. Going back to Stenhouse, that's another one of those ranges where I think they did really good with pricing, because they got McDowell, Stenhouse, Wallace right there next to each other, starting 22nd, 21st, 19th. Like, it's, yeah. I really like what DraftKings did with pricing this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like this more than just pricing up all the guys in the back. Like they did an awesome job in the 20s this week. Newman, actually, I got this sorted wrong. Hold on.
My only gripe is Castle being so much lower than Haley and Allgaier.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Mark, I wouldn't go pull up that comment, that last one. I wouldn't go Harvick and Bell in a line. Also, that's only 5 drivers.
he might be talking FanDuel. But yeah, I wouldn't play Harvick in that personally. Are you playing FanDuel at all day or no?
No, I didn't even do projections for FanDuel. Like, I didn't do my betting article or FanDuel article this week. I'm just kind of.
just here for DraftKings. I got 3 for FanDuel, but I'm just playing for FanDuel specifically because you get penalized for guys not completing race laps. My player pool is only 29th on back for FanDuel.
Really?
Yeah, like I'm just fucking playing the dudes in the back for FanDuel. I've always done that on that site, but I think we're gonna call it there. We've been here for like an hour and a half. I don't want to keep him any longer, and we actually did pretty good. Like 35 listeners right now. Like that's crazy for me with NFL as big as it is to still have that big of an audience for this. Like I love that. I'm very happy with that.
It just started raining at the track again.
That's okay. We got 2 hours before it's supposed to start. I'm telling you, man. I think we end in the middle of stage 2. I think it gets in today, and I think it ends because of rain. I think that's how it goes. I don't think we race this week. I think it starts today and ends short today. But I'm not a weatherman.
I think Parker said if it's raining at the scheduled start, there's no chance that they even try today. Basically, is what he said. If I'm reading that right. But if it's raining now, I mean, it takes what 2.5 hours, 3 hours to dry this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we're definitely not starting anytime soon. And then if it stops raining, then we're definitely, it's going to be called by darkness again, just like yesterday. Which, going back to that, are you surprised that they used the timing and scoring to call that race and didn't go back and review it?
They do so many things, dude. I thought that if the race ends, like if it's ending, like if it's a white flag and the caution comes out, they use video to determine the finishing order.
Mm-hmm.
But they use the timing loop there, and then like they were doing that for a restart, and then they end up calling the race. Like I thought for sure, because you got to know, like there's a possibility this race is going to end. Like I thought for sure they would use video on that. Like, and then I'm convinced they ended it to give the feel good story of Brandon Brown winning the race, because I thought for sure they would have done a green white checkered for 2 laps.
That was fun on Twitter though. Like people, oh, it looks perfectly fine. Like you realize that the settings on cameras are opening up. Yeah, like
what are they?
I understand
they're opening the
iris or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is, the shutter to allow more lighting.
Yeah. See, I think you're right. If they get going today, I think we're racing to whatever, halfway or stage 2. What, I don't even know what the rule is. I know they changed it this year.
It's halfway or stage 2, which is weird that you have 2 different ways to call it.
Is it whichever one's earlier or whichever one's later?
Whichever one happens first.
Okay. So
that's lap 94 today.
Oh yeah. That's halfway.
We just gotta get to 94. So I don't give a shit if it ends on lap 97. I don't want to deal with this week.
How did they, like yesterday, they had in both races, I feel like they had 2 super short stages and then a longer final stage. And then today they're going 60, 60, 68. What the?
I don't know what they're doing, dude. I have no clue.
I need to stop questioning like what the hell they're doing, because none of it ever makes sense.
Well, people always ask me like, "What do the stage ends?" Or like, "How?" All I know is the race length. I don't pay attention to the stage lengths. I don't do any of that. All right, we're gonna end it here because we're gonna yet again just the app for another 2 hours. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you're still here, thank you, and best of luck, guys. Hopefully it races today and enjoy the race.
Yep. Good luck.